Hello and welcome back to Art Masters with me, Mrs. Portilla. Today we will be working on the African American legacy. So we're going to be working on a group of art. So as you can see behind me, and hopefully on the slideshow earlier, you can see that there is kind of an abstract element to all of the African American legacy art. There's a lot of repeated shapes and patterns like triangles and circles. And some things are a little bit distorted, like maybe the face is a little bit longer than it should be. Things don't look as real. And of course, there's always big, bright, and bold colors. So today we'll be working on the African American legacy motif, which will just be a theme or subject matter. So today in our motif or our subject matter or theme, we'll be working on a monoprint. So a monoprint is a way of printmaking, but instead of being able to make multiple prints, you just make one print. And then you have to add more ink and you do it again. It's very much like a stamp. So we'll be cutting out the template, putting our ink, and then making our monoprint. So we'll be doing, you could either do a mask, a face, you could get creative and there's some animals. Everything that was in the African American legacy art had meaning. The designs had meaning, the different elements had meaning. So I will be showing you the example of our Yoruba person, but you're welcome to be a little more creative and maybe do a mask, or maybe even an animal. So go ahead and get your supplies and then we'll get started with our monoprint. Okay, now that we have our supplies, we're going to organize a little bit. So we're going to just take our manila or beige paper, a pencil, and the newsprint. But today we're going to be doing a monoprint of an ancient African person, but it's going to be abstract and a little bit distorted, just like the African legacy art was. So we're going to draw, well, I'm going to draw a head. Now you go ahead and watch and see what I do, and then you're welcome to be a little bit more creative and do either a mask or a different head or even an animal, but I'm going to demo this head today. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a circle. If you see, I kind of hold my pencil sideways, lightly sketch the circle because we will be cutting this out. So now I have my circle, and now I'm going to draw this oval shape within the circle. This is to help me with my placement. And remember, in this type of art, everything's a little bit abstract and a little bit distorted, so it does not have to be perfect. So I'm going to draw my oval within my circle. So I have these two shapes. Once I have those two shapes, I'm going to draw my neck, my elongated neck. And now you can kind of start to see my shape that I have here for a face. So to add the details to this, you can see there's an eye line, a nose line, and a mouth line. So I'm just going to be adding these three lines. Again, this is just for placement and sketching. So about here, that's going to be my eye line, nose, mouth. So my eyes are going to be here. So I'm going to put a curve there. And I'm actually going to go into my nose. And then I'm going to draw a little curve underneath there for the mouth. And now I'm going to go over my outline. Once you have your basic shape of either your face or your mask or maybe even an animal, basic shapes, we are going to, this is just sketched. I'm going to add a little bit more detail, but again, they're going to be big basic shapes that we're going to cut out. So I'm going to add a geometric braid. It's geometric because I'm kind of making it these triangle shapes. You could do smooth shapes, or maybe you just want her hair in a bun. Maybe it's a guy and he has a ponytail, whatever you want to do. So I'm going to go over my outline of my shape. So go ahead and add still basic shapes, but a little bit more detail, like maybe hair, maybe if you were doing a mask, you may do some of these, don't cut this out yet, but you would do these pointed shapes. And you're just going to go ahead and go over the outline because we're going to get ready to cut. So once you have your outline done of your basic shape with some detail like hair or points, we're going to cut. Cut around the outline of the shape. Okay, once you have your basic shape cut out, this is our positive space, and this is our negative space. So this is the actual form of our monoprint, mono meaning one, we're gonna stick it on one time, and this is our negative space. So there's two ways to add the detail for the African American legacy art. One is you can cut out these detailed space. So then when you put your ink and you stick it on here, it's going to leave these spaces open. You would need to fold and cut your shapes out. I'm going to show you a different method, which is cutting out the shapes, and we're going to put a negative shape on top of the image. So I'm going to grab my leftover beige paper, and I'm going to be adding some details, like I'm going to cut out some scraps and make like a neck ring, an ear, maybe like an abstract oval with a swirl in it, an almond-shaped eye, and maybe some other things that I will put on top of my monoprint after I put the ink, and you'll see what happens. Maybe something in her hair. So go ahead and you're going to make sure that your image is cut out, and then you're going to do some detail work with your manila paper, or if you prefer, you can cut out your shapes on your actual monoprint. So once you have your monoprint cut out with either the details cut out or your little scrap details that will stick on, we're going to move that onto our newsprint, and I'm going to demo my face. This, your teacher's probably already mixed up. I'm going to just show you so you understand what's going on. We have a little bit of starch, which is kind of a medium you could use, and 2 parts acrylic paint or tempera paint. So I'm going to mix this together. It's going to make it thinner to spread, and it might even help us to see some brush strokes. So this is going to be our ink per se for today. So I got to decide where do I want my image? Do I want it to come out this way or this way? Which way do I want her face facing? So I'm actually going to paint over my sketch. You should have a gray square piece of paper. So once this is painted, I'm going to basically stamp it on that way, and then I will peel it off. And that's going to give me an image like this. I'm basically stamping it on there. So newsprint is just to make things a little bit cleaner. And if you have a second newsprint, that could help as well when we push down on it. So I'm going to move my negative space details over here. And I'm going to paint. So think about brush strokes. So some of these, you'll actually see the brush strokes when we paint it on. So think about the direction of your brush strokes either going with your image. You could leave it a little brushy like this. And then I'm going to stick my eye. Try not to paint over it. I'm going to do a little hair decoration. An ear. And a neck ring. Okay, and this is kind of cool, so I'll put that there. All right, so now I'm going to quickly place it onto my paper. Get my newsprint. And we'll see how the negative shapes stuck on there should block the ink. So now you can see how we made our shapes, our details, with that negative space that we used. So go ahead and ink your monoprint design, whether it had the stencils, just paint over it quickly, think about brush strokes and stick it on, or paint your design and then place your manila detail work on there. And if the first time it comes out a little bit too light and you're not happy with it, go ahead and start again. Paint quickly with your tempera paint and then stick it on. So now we're actually going to mount it on our larger construction paper, whatever color it was you got. So now we get a little bit creative with our shapes. We can cut some zigzag lines or straight lines, and then we're going to keep our negative space or our scrap paper. Okay, once you have your pieces cut out, you can kind of lay out your composition. And if you want, you don't have to, you can use your positive monoprint and you could actually glue that on as well and make kind of a unique composition or motif, like the African motif, the subject matter. So once you have that done, you're going to go ahead and glue it down, and then you're all done. Okay, great job everyone today with your African motif or subject matter. Some things to look at. Let's look at each other's design and noticing the shapes, the negative space, and repeated patterns. Maybe some people have more brush strokes and some people have less brush strokes. And point out each other's the things that you like. Notice the different values, the dark and light of the brush strokes, and just the way the overall balance is of your design. Great job. I hope you learned a lot and really enjoyed it, and I hope you guys were able to clean up the mess. We'll see you guys next time. Thanks.